What you're about to see isn't just another story about presidential policy. It's about the systematic dismantling of the deep state apparatus that's been strangling American freedom for decades. President Trump, just day 23 of his return to power, has launched what might be the most aggressive campaign against government overreach in American history. He's ordered AG Bondi to review every federal gun regulation within 30 days. He's taking on Iran without starting a war, and he's using tariffs to rebuild American sovereignty. But the real story, the one they don't want you to know about, is even more stunning. And as President Trump wages war on government overreach, a parallel battle is being fought in the global financial arena. The deep state's control extends to our money, but there is a way to protect yourself. Look what's happening. Trump's moves against the bureaucratic power are sending shockwaves through the system. The establishment's terrified, and they are responding the only way they know how, by threatening our financial stability. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They understand that gold isn't just a commodity, it's a shield against government overreach. Visit nextnewsgold.com before the system retaliates, or call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Let's jump into the news right now. President Trump, Mike Engelman says, start looking into them. We are behind the 8 ball already. Donald Trump announced he will start looking into rogue federal judges.
Well, it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation. It seems hard.
And what, of course, he's talking about is these judges who are stepping up to try to block his executive action to oversee his own branch. So the Judicial is stepping in and interfering with the executive branch, which is a violation of the separation of powers. President Trump is, of course, filing legal action against these judges, and now he might even go even further. And now we have this just from an hour ago. Libs of TikTok posting, Representative Anna Paulina Luna announces she will lead the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. Oh, it's about time. The 9/11 files, Jeffrey Epstein files, JFK, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, Dr. Martin Luther King, COVID-19, and even UFOs.
Oversight Task Force. With the stroke of a pen, he committed to declassifying the files concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A decision not just monumental, but pivotal. It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on declassification of federal secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins meant.
Oh, baby, buckle up. We're finally going to have some transparency in government. And now we've got this. Speaking of transparency, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he posted this. President Trump has been clear about America first, but also that America will lead the world and will empower our allies and partners and add to our capabilities. Buckle up.
Exercises, that partnerships, but we need to lead the world. There's no doubt. And President Trump has been clear about that. America first means we're taking care of America first, but part of America first is empowering allies and partners to be combat multipliers, to add to the capabilities that we have. I mean, that's foreign military sales, that's exercises, that's defense partnerships, but it's also reminding certain countries and certain regions of the world that America can't be the guarantor of everything forever in a world where we have to prioritize shifting to larger threats in certain moments. So you're going to see that kind of prioritization from us, which we believe will empower, invigorate, incentivize more burden sharing from allies who are beloved to us, who we support, who also need to be prepared to step up.
Oh, be prepared to step up, my friends. And speaking of stepping up, Google Maps is officially updated to Gulf of America. I can't believe this is happening. This is great. Oh, my goodness. I've been doing this for so long. We've been fighting this damn fight for so long. And finally, we are seeing an administration that listens to the people. And I mean, this is heads and tails better than the first administration. I mean, the first Trump administration, this administration is on fire. Here we have more from the Secretary of Defense on rebuilding our military.
I don't have any special interest. The second one is rebuild our military. Our defense industrial base, our acquisitions process.
Before we continue, I always get frustrated because it seems like every single time we have a Republican in the White House, they're always working to rebuild our military. Like, what is it with the Democrats that are constantly destroying our first line of defense? Well, of course, I mean, they hate us, so they hate America.
How we rapidly field new technologies, how we learn from conflicts around the globe, how we match what we fund to capabilities and effects. There's a lot of programs around here that we spend a lot of money on that when you actually war game it, don't have the impact you want them to. One of the benefits I have is I don't have any special interests. I don't have a background invested in any systems or services. I'm agnostic to that. It means I'm going to take a lot of arrows, and I'm prepared to do so. That's fine. We need the best systems in the hands of warfighters where they need it, to the COCOMs, to deter, send the signals that when that fight comes, we're ready to win and win decisively. That includes a Pentagon audit, which to the Marines out there, y'all got to figure it out. And we appreciate that. Lean and mean. We are going to focus heavily to ensure that at a bare minimum, by the end of 4 years, the Pentagon passes a clean audit. The American taxpayers deserve that. They deserve to know where their $850 billion go.
And of course, he's referring to the fact that the Marines actually passed their audit, but the Pentagon could not. We got this 6 hours ago from Vivek Ramaswamy. The last 4 years, the largest influx of illegals in U.S. history, staggering inflation, foreign wars, national division, backdoor censorship that will make our founders shudder. We didn't vote for gradualism. We voted for sweeping change. That's exactly what Trump is delivering. He was quote tweeting Mario Nawfal, who had a clip from the Sean Ryan show when Vivek was on it. Trump works fast. How is that a bad thing? Listen.
I think the best allegation there, he definitely is moving at a faster pace than probably any president has in modern history or in our lifetimes. But I think generally if somebody was elected with a mandate and told you they were going to do certain things and then he goes in there and does them, and he does them quickly, I don't think that the fact of doing them quickly is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And, the fact that I think the best allegation they're coming up with is that the pace is just too crazy. Well, when you had open borders and the largest influx of illegals in American history and a flailing economy and inflation we haven't seen in 50 years and foreign conflicts that didn't exist when Donald Trump left office that do now exist that need to be extinguished. Yeah, I do think that Fast and Furious is exactly what we need. And I am so far as impressed as I possibly could be. And I'm also somebody who, as you know, in my experience of running for president, or course of our own conversations, even predating that, I'm not going to just read from the chapter and verse of Republican talking points. But I think if we're just speaking a hard truth right now, he's come out with a bang, and I want to see that continue for the next 4 years. He definitely is moving it.
I think it's a little bit more than a bang, Vivek. I think it's a nuclear explosion. We have more from the Secretary of Defense about restoring the warrior ethos, and will continue to attract young men and women. Buckle up.
And women who restoring the warrior ethos is critical. And I think we've seen that already in the recruiting numbers. I think we've seen an enthusiasm and excitement from young men and women who want to join the military actively because they are interested in being a part of the finest fighting force the world has to offer, and not doing a lot of other things that serve oftentimes too often to divide or distract. It's about readiness. It's about staying focused. And I think you've seen that from a lot of the executive orders the president has issued that we have echoed. And there can be confusion about that. But from our perspective, why do you get rid of something like DEI? Because from our perspective, it's served a purpose of dividing the force as opposed to uniting the force. And this is something I've said quite publicly. And what I want to be is transparent with this building and everyone who serves here. Say the same thing in public that we say in private, which I hope you'll find from us. I think the single dumbest phrase in military history is our diversity is our strength. I think our strength is our unity. Our strength is our shared purpose, regardless of our background, regardless of how we grew up, regardless of our gender, regardless of our race. In this department, we will treat everyone equally. We will treat everyone with fairness. We will treat everyone with respect. And we will judge you as an individual by your merit and by your commitment to the team and the mission. That's how it has been. That's how it will be.
Seems pretty simple, actually, right? Just treat everyone equally. You don't need to divide everybody up into groups. And we've got this good news. George Beasy, 22 hours ago, the Senate just voted 52-46 to invoke cloture and activate Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation vote. Based on the vote, she is 100% confirmed. Any moment now, we'll have our new director of intelligence. Here is the moment. Tulsi Gabbard clears through U.S. Senate votes to advance to her full confirmation vote later this week. Every Republican voted in favor of advancing her nomination, and every Democrat voted against it.
The yeas are 52, the nays are 46. The motion is agreed to.
Motion to invoke cloture on the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii to be Director of National Intelligence. Oh, yes, we're not done yet. President Trump on funding the government.
Eliminate taxes on tips. The tough part is that if you don't want to cut entitlements and you do want to add to defense spending, and you want to eliminate taxes on tips, and you want to make the 2017 tax cuts permanent, that's a lot of money.
But we're going to take in tremendous amounts of money on tariffs. We're going to have tariffs. We're going to take in tremendous amounts of money.
And you think Doge is going to make up some difference?
Doge. Well, Doge is going to make up a lot, but that's unrelated to tariffs. It's not fair that other countries have really taken advantage of us, and it's our leader's fault, but I'm a different leader. It's not fair that other countries have taken advantage of us for so many years, and now all of a sudden we're not allowed to have tariffs, but they've had tariffs for years. You know, they've done this to us for years, and we haven't. And I think reciprocal tariffs, I'll be talking about it. I think probably on Monday or Tuesday I'll have a whole big thing. We have a very sophisticated plan.
And President Trump, as you may have heard, has already implemented tariffs on steel. We've got this on from Texas Gun Rights. Trump orders AG Bondi to review all Biden federal gun regulations within the next 30 days. Here is the official order, the plan of action. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment. Yeah, I think the Second Amendment's pretty damn clear. Shall not be infringed, and President Trump understands that, and AG Bondi is now on the case. Speaking of weapons, here's President Trump discussing Iran.
For that not happen. Everyone thinks Israel, with our help or our approval, will go in and bomb the hell out of them. I would prefer that not happen. I'd much rather see a deal with Iran where we can do a deal, supervised, check it, inspect it, and then blow it up, or just make sure that there's no more nuclear. That we just
A better deal than the Obama nuclear deal.
Well, that was the dumbest deal. By the way, that would have expired by now. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. It was a short-term deal. You can make a deal with just a few years on it. That deal would be expired by now. Think of it. And they would have a legal right to have a nuclear weapon. You cannot allow Iran, or just about anybody else, by the way, but especially Iran, because they are very militant. I mean, they're very, very militant. You can't allow them to have a nuclear weapon. But there's two ways of stopping them: with bombs or with a written piece of paper. And I'd much rather do a deal that's not going to hurt them. And I think they wanted to. I think that Iran is very concerned. I think that Iran is very frightened, to be honest with you, because their defense is pretty much gone. Maybe they're trying to get new defense as we speak, meaning air defense. But their defense is largely gone. They've had some very bad moments. The whole thing with the pagers was a disaster for them. The pagers, you know what I'm talking about. It was a horrible thing, but it was, it knocked out a lot of leadership like nobody's ever seen before. But I think Iran is very nervous. I think they're scared. I think Iran would love to make a deal, and I would love to make a deal with them without bombing them.
I want to make a deal without bombing them. And then, of course, he references the pagers. I mean, really, like, that just shows you how third world these countries are. I mean, who carries a pager? I guess only people in the Middle East. Oh, my goodness. We have this. Concerning the Middle East, Fox News, would the Palestinians have a right to return?
We'll build beautiful communities for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them. Because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. We give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. Donald Trump is going to make a deal. And speaking of deals, he's meeting with King Jordan Abdullah II, King of Jordan, to President Trump. This is what he said: I believe with all the challenges, finally someone can take us across the finish line.
It is, I think, our collective. Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here. And as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, crossing the finish line. Here we have Chip Roy posting just 4 hours ago: the president is chief executive. He can absolutely freeze funding and cut waste. Rodents are running around some of these office buildings in D.C. They've been unoccupied for years, and the president will win this case. I love Chip Roy. I mean, he's got some flaws. I know on his whole DeSantis thing, but, as long as he's on Team Trump right now, I think that's what matters. Let's go.
We think there's ways.
And fourth, I want to get your immediate thoughts.
Yeah, well, first of all, the president, of course, has the responsibility and frankly, the ability to be able to freeze spending and review it for the betterment of the American taxpayer. But on that issue, the first one that you pointed out about these buyout programs, I think the judge was basically saying, oh, no, you can't do that as the president because Congress hasn't authorized that or hasn't said that he should do that. Well, hold on. The president, as the chief executive, is making an offer, like any chief executive of a company, to say, hey, we might need to cut back here. We think there's waste, so we're going to offer you a buyout. How on earth is that something that Congress would necessarily have to put their fingers in? And understand this, I was told yesterday by some friends of mine down at in the executive in the administration that they are finding rats, they are finding old files, they are finding phones that still have the pre-programmed numbers from when Trump was in there 4 years ago, because nobody's been there. You've got all these people that have been working at home, not doing a job, and this president is coming in and saying no more. The American people are with the president. These judges are acting like it's 1990 or 1970 and they can just decide things on high. They can't. The president's chief executive, he's in there to do a job. He's going to win this case, and regardless, he's going to make sure he continues to do what he needs to do to root out all of this corruption and remove these bureaucrats from interfering with the American people.
I mean,
yep, time to get back to work in Washington. No more of this remote garbage, this relic of the COVID tyranny. We've got this, too. President Trump responding to Maxine Waters tells her, all of her friends, tell Maxine and all of her friends that we're last in education. Excuse me.
At the Department. I watched some of these horrible people like Maxine Waters, real sleaze, and I watched her screaming at the security guard or whoever he was. Actually, he was pretty cool. At the Department of Education. He was pretty cool standing in front of the Department of Education. She's only looking for trouble. She's not looking to help people learn. Look, tell Maxine and all of her friends that we're last in education. Out of 40 states, we're last. We're number 40. But we're number 1 in cost per pupil. That's all you have to know. We have to make a change. I want to send education back to the states. I watched some of
Bring
these...
it back to the states where it belongs. Check this out. Benny Johnson posting this 7 hours ago. Now, this is a true Secretary of Defense, leading by example, so refreshing. Can you even remember when the last time the military was in such great hands? Look at him putting up that weight out there in the streets with the troops. I mean, really? Like, have you ever seen a Secretary of Defense actually doing this kind of stuff? No, they just, they hide behind COVID masks and the like. Anyway, we've got more here. Here is President Trump. Patrick Bet-David posting this 18 hours ago. Are you sick of paper straws? Will this executive order improve the quality of dinners at restaurants? Donald Trump is making dinner great again.
Environmental impact. Next, this is an executive order relating to the use of paper straws. As you've consistently identified, nobody really likes paper straws.
Number 1 trending. Can you believe it? A paper straw. It was number 1 trending for 3 days or something.
The environmental impact of plastic straws versus paper straws is entirely unclear. This has cost both the government and private industry an absolute ton of money and left consumers all over the country wildly dissatisfied with their straws. So we're asking aspects of the federal government, federal departments and agencies to look at their existing procurement processes, and we're asking your Domestic Policy Council to look holistically at this issue to address it, and it really is something that affects ordinary Americans in their everyday lives.
We're going back to plastic straws. These things don't work. I've had them many times, and on occasion they break, they explode. If something's hot, they don't last very long, like a matter of minutes. Sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation. So we're going back to plastic straws. I think it's okay.
I mean, the fact that we have to sign an executive order.
I think that plastic's going to affect a shark very much as they're munching their way through the ocean.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. This is where we're at. We actually have to have executive orders to get back to plastic straws because of people are afraid of turtles dying. Okay, we're not done yet. 19 hours ago, the Trump administration has dropped federal charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. And we have Chris Cuomo. I mean, I still can't believe I'm playing clips from Chris Cuomo. But here we are, man. This is a new era.
Prejudice, which is Trump's acting deputy attorney general. This is really unusual, okay? The DOJ just asked the Southern District of New York, which is supposed to be the crown jewel of the satellite attorneys general offices in the country, to dismiss the case against New York's mayor without prejudice, which is essentially directing them to say, you screwed this case up. You did a bad job, or you did the right job for the wrong reasons, and now you're going to admit it. You are directed, as authorized by the Attorney General, to dismiss the pending charges in the United States v. Adams, and the matter shall be reviewed by the confirmed U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York following the November 2025 mayoral election, based on consideration of all relevant factors. The Justice Department has reached this conclusion without assessing the strength of the evidence or the legal theories on which the case is based, which are issues on which we defer to the U.S. Attorney's Office at this time. So here's what they just said. You're going to dismiss it because we believe you did it the wrong way and for the wrong reasons. And after the mayoral election, assuming Adams runs and whether he wins or loses, then the Attorney General and the deputy one, who's in the Southern District at that time, will review the case at that time. Never heard of anything like this before. It's a huge black eye for the Southern District. Not that anybody really cares. What does it mean for Adams, legally and politically? Former New York City prosecutor Paul Callan and News Nation correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera. Let's do.
Yeah, wow. President Trump responding to Elizabeth Warren's comments about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
By freezing it. Mr. President, regarding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, have said that by freezing it, it's giving big banks and giant corporations the green light to scam families.
Pocahontas. Pocahontas is the faker. That was set up to destroy people. She used that as her little personal agency to go around and destroy people. And she's a fake. Just like she said she was an Indian, and she wasn't an Indian. You have more Indian blood in you than she has. She went to college based on the fact that she was an Indian. She got jobs based on the fact that she was an Indian. She's a fake. That was set up to destroy some very good people, and it worked. I mean, it worked. A lot of great people. I'll tell you, before I ever heard the term, people would come up to me in the Midwest and areas that say, "Sir, I'm being destroyed by them." They use that to destroy people. She's a nasty woman. She's a really nasty woman, despite her phony beer commercial. We did the right thing. That was a very important thing to get rid of. And it was also a waste. I mean, number one, it was a bad group of people running it, but it was also a waste. If you looked at when she really ran it, wow, that was a vicious group of people. They really destroyed a lot of people.
And you can confirm it's your goal is to have it totally eliminated, the agency?
Say, yeah, because we're trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse.
I love that he uses that term, waste, fraud, and abuse. See, those are the buzzwords that they're constantly using on the left and the right when they try to justify, or they go out in public and they make these statements. We got to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. Okay, well, here's what President Trump's doing. How can you argue against that? But then they go out and have these massive protests in front of the Department of Education or USAID or wherever, and they have these meltdowns. Here we have Speaker Mike Johnson. He is agreeing with J.D. Vance. This is from George Beasley tweets 6 hours ago that crooked judges are illegally interfering with the executive branch's authority. This is what I'm saying.
To not fund in the interim, I will say I agree wholeheartedly with Vice President J.D. Vance, my friend, because he's right. What they're doing in the executive branch, I've been asked so many times, aren't you uncomfortable with this? No, I'm not, because when Congress, for example, appropriates dollars for the executive branch to use, we build in, not only in the spirit of the law, but in the letter of law, a broad amount of discretion for how that is used. There is a presupposition in America that the commander-in-chief is going to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars, that the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, is going to command those within his branch of government to do the right thing by the people, to be accountable, to not fund drag shows in Middle Eastern countries or South America, to not waste our taxpayer dollars. And that's what has been uncovered. And that's why we and the people are applauding what's happening right now in the new administration, because they've taken that seriously. And they're doing it. The forensic audits, effectively, that Doge and Elon Musk are leading. In the interim, I will say
Bring it. Bring it all. Forensic audits, audit every single one of them. Here is President Trump saying Ukraine, 5 hours ago, has agreed to repay the aid by giving the United States $500 billion in rare earth minerals? What?
Oil and gas and
Ukraine, though, you think you can get a deal? Do you keep sending American weapons until you do?
No, what I'm saying is the following. They have tremendously valuable land in terms of rare earth, in terms of oil and gas, in terms of other things. I want to have our money secured because we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars. And, you know, they may make a deal, they may not make a deal, they may be Russian someday, or they may not be Russian someday, but we're going to have all this money in there. And I say, I want it back. And I told them that I want the equivalent, like $500 billion worth of rare earth. And they've essentially agreed to do that. So at least we don't feel stupid. Otherwise, we're stupid. I said to them, we have to get something. We can't continue to pay this money.
Ukraine, though.
Oh, no. We are not going to continue to fund that disaster over there. Here's the moment when President Trump was greeting King Abdullah II of Jordan at the White House. I will be there in just like 48 hours. I'm really excited to go. Get my press credentials. We're getting it all set up right now. I mean, this is historic, just for all the work we've been doing here for so long. But this one here, Trump derangement syndrome, apparently is quite strong with this person.
That's the other reason why we didn't win, because the fucking Trump was at the goddamn game. God damn it! Trump should not have been at our fucking game.
Oh, yeah, they're upset over there. They blame President Trump for the loss in the Super Bowl. Here we have more. Here's another angle of President Trump welcoming the King of Jordan and Crown Prince of Jordan to the White House. History being made every moment of the day. Oh, my goodness. Speaking of history, check this out. Check this out. My goodness, finally. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, 21 hours ago, Fort Bragg is back, baby.
To change the name. There it is. Pursuant to the authority of the Secretary of Defense, Title 10, United States Code, Section 113, I direct the Army to change the name of Fort Liberty, North Carolina, to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's right, Bragg is back.
Oh, man, there's going to be a lot of very happy people. My goodness. What is this from Elon Musk 17 hours ago? President Trump has choice words. Okay, he called her Pocahontas. He talked about her just basically setting up an organization to destroy people. And then we have this Dov Hikind. President Trump has issued an ultimatum to Hamas.
That the hostage... Amazing. Donald Trump has just issued an ultimatum to the barbarians of Hamas that the hostages, all of them, must be released by this Saturday at 12 o'clock, or all hell will break loose. And the Israeli military will do what it needs to do, and that is to destroy Hamas. Amazing, our president, who gets it, who understands the animals, the barbarians of Hamas.
All right, we got more to get at here. So much is happening. Scott Jennings ends the careers of every Democrat on the CNN panel, writes Paul Sabula, by nailing the issue about activist judges illegally interfering with the Trump presidency. I love this. I love this guy, man. He goes in the lion's den every single day on that channel.
And that the court cannot... I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big
Not
policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Should the president, the singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand, the Biden administration understood the checks and balances.
The Supreme Court tried to stop me, but they never will.
But not in the way that Donald Trump is.
Who said
not in the way
that?
that
Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Joe
but
Biden.
Donald Trump, he actually didn't ignore it.
He did.
Right.
They continued to plow forward with
No,
student
he
aid.
didn't.
How much did they spend?
Let me set the record up.
He actually got dinged on the student
I hated the student loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say out loud?
I thought it was a ridiculous policy.
It.
I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I applauded. He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored it.
You're allowed. No, that's not ignoring it.
That is trying to be
ignoring it. But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the chief executive of this country, he should absolutely defy it. There's a difference between broad policy decisions and discrete disputes between parties. That's the difference. If I want a policy decided, I'll take it to the Supreme Court.
But what about checks and balances?
So you're saying that a judge should decide how and when money is spent
a judge is saying,
for years, and not the president of the United States?
Let me explain
You're a governor,
a little bit more. Let me explain it a little bit more slowly. A judge is saying,
you don't have to talk to me like that.
Congress.
Wow. Let me talk to you slowly. Yeah.
Position on this, and you have an opinion, we can disagree.
Yeah, but I'm saying you listen to me because you're not listening and you're making claims that are not connected to the facts. The judge is saying
maybe you are.
Congress appropriated a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to litigate this. Okay. While we litigate this, we're going to put a hold on the actions that you took that might be unconstitutional.
So while we litigate this, I'm a judge and I'm in charge of the executive branch and you're not, forget it. I totally disagree.
You just can't compel the executive branch to spend the dollars. You can't do that. They can't say we're going to start. The judges are going to start writing the checks. They have every right to hold that.
No matter who the president is, the duly elected chief executive of this country, they should not be sharing the broad plenary powers of the presidency with 300 individual district court judges. That is not what the people want.
That is a great position to take when you are in power.
Yeah,
wow, that's the debate happening right now. We have more Elon Musk posting this. Vance judges, this is from CNN.
A prosecutor, if a judge tried to tell a general how to conduct a military operation, that would be illegal. If a judge tried to command the attorney general and how to use her discretion as a prosecutor, that's also illegal. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. The word legitimate is...
So I want to bring this up because Elon Musk just quote tweeted this.
...doing a lot of work here, but we do know that judges do get to say whether the executive is complying with the law or not.
Yeah, well, I believe that he is. And then we have this, why the West is turning right. People are tired of wokeism.
Of America, to Reform UK being the most popular party in Britain, to the AfD winning seats in Germany, to Geert Wilders winning in the Netherlands, and to Rassemblement National becoming the most popular movement in France. Why is this all happening? Well, the answer is blatantly fucking obvious. And before I explain, for the sake of accuracy, yes, some genuinely are far right, others aren't. Reform is not far right, Trump is not far right, the Sweden Democrats are not far right. There's two major problems in Western society at the moment, and one of these we've been allowed to speak about, the other we haven't. So let's start with what we're allowed to speak about. Economically, the citizens of the West have been let down by their governments with varying degrees depending on the country that they're in. But generally, their cost of living has gone up. Their property markets are fucked. They pay too much tax for what they earn. Their wage growth isn't good enough. And inequality has become rampant in our societies.
So wokeism is dying slowly across the world. More wins to report. Google Calendar will no longer include Pride Month. That is according to CNBC. Oh, and there's more, friends. We have more. Start looking into them. Let's see here. This is from Jim Ferguson. Trump to pardon Edward Snowden. The deep state's nightmare begins, is happening. President Trump is preparing to issue a full and unconditional pardon for Edward Snowden. The man who sacrificed everything to expose the deep state's crimes is finally getting justice and the corrupt establishments in panic mode. This is not about Snowden. This is about tearing down the surveillance state built to control you. He's the hero who exposed their spy machine. He revealed the NSA's illegal mass surveillance of every American. Your phone calls, emails, private messages monitored, stored, and weaponized against you. Big tech, Google, Apple, Facebook acted as deep state collaborators, feeding data straight into government hands. The deep state's worst fear, Trump and Snowden together. Holy cow. This is a massive tweet. I'm going to go ahead and repost it because it is, I mean, if he pulls this off, he pardons Snowden, that's game-changing. And speaking of game-changing, we have more from Anna Paulina Luna on the JFK files.
Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination. And I can tell you, based on what I've been seeing so far, the initial hearing that was actually held here in Congress was actually faulty in the single bullet theory. I believe that there were 2 shooters, and we should be finding more information as we are able to gain access into the Schiff, hopefully before the files are actually released to the public.
Holy cow, baby. It is happening. She just said there were 2 shooters. Okay. She just said that. That was from Darren McBreen, media rival. He posted that. President Trump now also imposing a 25% tariff on aluminum imports.
To 25. So with respect to aluminum, similarly to steel, since 2018, a large number of exceptions and exemptions have been added into the law. This eliminates all of those and also increases the ad valorem tariff rate from 10 to 25%.
Mostly the last part is the most important, right? Would you say?
Totally.
So basically, this is aluminum, the same thing, no exceptions, no nothing. And it's going to bring our aluminum business back and may go higher. I mean, frankly, it may go higher. And we're going to also be talking about we're going to be talking about things over the next 3 weeks that I think will be amazing for our country, amazing for our jobs, and will bring us to a new level of prosperity. And I think, frankly, our allies and our enemies all over the world expected this. They really expected it for years. They really expected it sometime during the Biden administration, but they didn't do anything. As you know, I put tariffs on China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars with those tariffs, and Biden wasn't able to get them out. He tried to, but it was too much money. He couldn't do it. And we're going to be doing a very concise and, very, it's going to be good. And I don't think if done properly, and we're going to try and do that, we don't want it to hurt other countries, but they've been taking advantage of us for years and years and years, and they've charged us tariffs. Most of them have charged us, almost everyone, I would say, almost without exception. Definitely. They've charged us, and we haven't charged them, and it's time to be reciprocal. So you'll be hearing that word a lot, reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. If they're at 25, we're at 25. If they're at 10, we're at 10. And if they're much higher than 25, that's what we are too. So that's having to do with everything. That's not just steel and aluminum. But we'll be discussing that over the next couple of weeks. But we will be looking at chips, and we will be looking at cars, and we're going to be looking at pharmaceuticals,
and we're going to be looking at everything. And speaking of making America great again, the Associated Press says they were blocked from Tuesday's Oval Office event after they refused to abide by President Trump's order renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Associated Press issued a statement on Tuesday from executive editor Julie Pace. As a global news organization, the Associated Press informs billions of people around the world every day with factual, nonpartisan journalism. Today, we were informed by the White House that the AP did not align its editorial standards with President Donald Trump's executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. AP would be barred from accessing an event in the Oval Office. This afternoon, AP's reporter was blocked from attending an executive order signing. Oh! And then they said, it's alarming that the Trump administration would punish the AP for its independent journalism. Are you serious? Independent journalism from the AP? And then they say, limiting our access to the Oval Office based on the content of AP's speech is not only severely impeding the public's access to independent news, it plainly violates the First Amendment. Well, the AP isn't exactly independent. Oh, and speaking of swamp rats, Adam Schiff is freaking out over Tulsi Gabbard. He just posted 7 hours ago, "It's hard to imagine someone more disqualified." Oh, and he went on MSNBC with Rachel Maddow.
Committee. You spoke tonight on the Senate floor in opposition to her confirmation. You called it dangerous and a 5-alarm fire. What do you think the American people should know about her as a nominee as we're heading toward that final vote tomorrow?
Well, first, I think it's important, as with all these nominees, to just level set. Normally, if you're talking about someone who's going to head an agency, let alone in this case, all of the intelligence agencies, you would expect a nominee to have some experience, maybe having worked for an intelligence agency, maybe having led an intelligence agency, or even at a minimum served on a relevant committee like the Intelligence Committee in Congress. Tulsi Gabbard has none of that experience. Zero, nada, zilcho. That would normally, in a normal world, be disqualifying. But she goes far beyond that. She has echoed Kremlin talking points about the origin of the war against Ukraine. She's pushed out Russian propaganda about U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. One of the pretexts that Russia wanted to use for its invasion.
Russian propaganda, Russian propaganda. Yeah, I remember when the Washington Times called us Russian propagandists back in 2016. Yeah.
To the point where RT, Russia Today, this propaganda outfit, is praising her to the degree that advisors close to Putin refer to her as our girl.
Oh, my goodness. This guy just, I still can't believe he's not behind bars, but he's got friends in high places, right? He did get that pardon. I'm not going to give this guy any more airtime than he deserves. Any time that he should be spent behind bars. We have so much happening in this country. It is only day 23 of Donald Trump's return to the White House, and America is getting greater by the minute. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. And let's just keep this party going, shall we? I think we shall. All right. So what we've witnessed today is nothing short of revolutionary. President Trump isn't just making policy changes. He's fundamentally restructuring how government interfaces with American citizens. From gun rights to foreign policy, from tariffs to executive authority, this is a comprehensive assault on the bureaucratic machine that's been suffocating American freedom for generations. The establishment's response? Panic. Pure, unbridled panic, because they know this is not just about policy, it's about power, their power. And for the first time in modern history, they're losing it. But here is the question that should keep you up at night. If Trump can accomplish this much in just 23 days, what's stopping the deep state from attempting something unprecedented to halt his momentum? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't miss out on our exclusive Mag Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Wear your patriotism proudly.